here. I hear you. Here's the point. For court.
I don't think I signed the technology agreement, but that's cool.
I don't think I said that'll get him in a legal bind, especially since that's on video too.
Oh no, I'm recording this for my viewing pleasure later. Owen, good face for the camera. Jessica making a surprise appearance for the camera. Bring the evidence binder up to the jury. Hey, smile for the camera. Alright.
This is like my video of you rapping. I view it on a daily basis. Straight out of cont.
Dude, it helped so much.
Straight out of Boston.
Straight out of Boston. Dude, it helped so much during the burn pre-quiz. We were like, who's the ruler of Russia? Will too.
I didn't know half the
Oh yeah, I didn't know half them either. Why can't I zoom in?
I did one learning objective. Look at how long it is.
That's one?
Yeah, that's
What
one.
the hell?
Yeah, that's how long mine was.
That's one.
It appears that the evidence is being brought up to order.
So if we take a look for one, describing our understanding of the topic, giving a general idea, and recapitulating are really many ways to say the same thing. You want
Owen bringing out the big words.
I understand
Will it
correctly,
work?
to give our understanding of the topic in a brief, concise summary. But I think we'd be able to group those together instead of writing 3 sentences that differ in only a few words.
Well, hang on a second.
Yes.
So, target different paragraphs. Okay, A, basic concept.
E, recapitulate the whole concept, and 1, describe your understanding of the topic or concept.
General idea. B, specific subtopics. No, they are different.
No, B and A and E.
A and E.
And 1. 1, A and E.
Recapitulate the whole concept. Oh, F.
1, describe your understanding of the topic. A, the basic concept, and E, recapitulate the whole concept, are very, very close to one another. I think we'd be able to save space if we turn those all into one question.
Okay. What recapitulate means?
Recapitulate means to restate again, which would require even more words.
Okay. So, recapitulate is not required you to repeat this. You cannot copy and paste something.
No, we'd have to get the meat of the idea.
Yeah. So
But
how
that's
you do
very
that?
similar to the basic concept.
A basic concept, we explain the basic concept.
Okay.
Essentially is, photosynthesis, it comprises of different cycles. Okay, you get all those things turn into light cycle, dark cycle, what kind of dark cycle, how many ATP, and how many electron transport. It's very detailed. Go to
The basic
final-
concept would be fairly detailed.
Oh yeah.
Basic
Okay,
concept.
Basic concept. Why can't basic concept be detailed?
Why can't it be detailed?
Yeah.
You
It
want
has to be
you want to
very
reduce it down to the easiest.
You know what basic means?
Basically,
Reducing down to
Does not mean simple,
Okay.
right?
But if we want to argue
Hang
semantic,
on. Basic does not mean simple. But on the other hand is, I need to simplify.
okay.
You see what I mean? Basic concepts sometimes, they can be as detailed as anything that you need to. Okay? But the point is, I need to understand the basic concept based on a general idea. See, the second portion is general idea. So you got to it's kind of specific and general at the same time.
But would you agree
Okay.
that number 1 and
But recap is taking the whole thing, squeezing into one sentence.
Mr. Chair.
Recapitulate means, okay, is turning light energy by ways of electron transfer to make chemical bonds.
But does you matter how you would start
Okay,
your...
but would you agree that
You see what
That's
I understand that
why I want to do that is I want you guys to make this kind of statement so that they're concise enough. People knowing that you got the basic and then you don't have time to write up, that's all you got.
okay.
Okay? It's not repeating.
No,
It's not repeating.
but they're very similar.
They like squeezing them into one sentence.
And we haven't
In
touched
the
upon
way is similar, in the way is different.
and we haven't touched upon one, which is our understanding. So if there's
One?
yeah, describe your understanding. Oh, my foot is totally fine.
Okay, one, describe the understanding of the topic.
So if there's overlap between the two, then that would be a problem.
Your understanding is very different from the basic concept.
Wait, it's
But there could be
Hang on
overlap.
a second, hang on a second. That's very, very important. Okay? I know this is a long project because I need you to do it a little bit at a time, okay? So you don't wait till all of them to do it. Your understanding is your perspective, how you make sense out of it. So it's not from the book. Okay, for example, in photosynthesis is I do understand that green things make starch. Okay? Alright? But the basic concept is all the electron things and all the absorption layer, all this stuff. Okay? It could be the same. But most likely it's your perspective of what the basic concept is.
However, then there might be overlap. Or
They might be, but not necessary. Okay? So sometimes I like to see that if, oh wow, you see it that way. That's interesting. Because this is what critical thinking comes out of. Okay? Critical thinking has come out from a perspective and you understand it and translate it in your own words. Not in your own words only, in your own way to express it. Alright? Because you see green color is more important than any other color.
so the talking for one and these are responses that we want to give to the questions themselves. But I'm confused because the questions themselves aren't actually questions, they're just standards set by as a teaching guideline saying that students should be able to understand this. So to be able to use them as a problem would grossly misconstrue their true purpose. That's like taking apples and telling people they're oranges.
You talk about this, right?
All of them, all of them.
Okay, let me explain. Yeah.
Because they're not. Also, for the answers.
You sit down first. Sit down first. No, yeah. Come on. Yeah.
Come on, guys. Shh.
I need to see more. Okay. Good job.
Owen is retreating.
In common core, or have a general idea, is one teacher to make you guys think and make you guys to be discerning. The word discerning, tell the difference. But without understand the details and the basic concept, you cannot tell the difference because some of them are very, very similar. Okay? So the wording of all this, it comes from College Board. I didn't want to change that. I don't want to kind of translate for you. The reason why is, those are the language you're going to see in the test. It's crazy. Why? Because you are kind of thinking, what are you asking? So, those are the quote-unquote learning objectives. They are guidelines only. They are not actually the content. Okay? Therefore, they are called learning objectives. Objectives are not guidelines. Alright? I'm sorry. Objectives are not the contents. Yes?
However, the learning objectives often use very similar language with one another when the questions are related. Yes, for example, the questions about free energy could have one saying students
Vanshika.
able to interpret and understand graphs to analyze the change in free energy. And another one could say students understand how cells are an open system to process free energy and power their life processes. I wouldn't understand why it would be justified to write two full responses for each of the questions when it would be much more efficient to combine the two of them in one question. Because that way we would be able to answer those.
Remember, those are not questions though, at all.
But you're phrasing them as such on the assignment. So they're objectives. They're not actually questions, but for the purpose of the assignment, we're misconstruing them as questions. Yeah?
Not really though. Not really though. Okay. What question usually is they are having a problem or something missing or something you could explain to them. Alright? Here is a topic for you to expound on it. It's very different. Yes?
But most of the topics, as Owen was saying, like the first and second objective you see there, it talks about free energy, right? So we can combine those two and tell a lot and tell everything you want about free energy with giving examples. The first one asks basically the overall free energy concept. The second one, however, asks about the cells. So when you're asking anyway about examples, we can explain the examples as cells, which would be included in one response instead of like 40 of them.
Alright, hang on. Scope is a word you're missing, scope. Okay, scope means what's the range you talk about. If you widen the range, you almost inclusive for everything. Now, the way they do it is they give you a very wide scope and then give you a narrow scope. Okay? So, they look the same, but actually they're different is the scope. You see what I mean? Yes?
I think the point that I'm trying to get across is that some of these wouldn't really warrant an entire A through G scale just to explain that you're able to understand graphs to analyze changes in free energy. You can easily incorporate that into one of the larger subsections and have those as branching out. So that would make the whole result a lot more efficient because you wouldn't need to put in so many resources on things that we could simply add on as a branch to one of the larger subsections.
Will you please write that down?
Sure.
Yeah. Because this is what happened. I'm not a proponent of all these learning objectives. Very, very important, yes. Number one, they're wordy. Number two, hard to understand. Seems like they are repeating, but they are not. It's very, very tricky. Okay? And on the other hand is, oh, what part is really the content? They don't mention the content at all. You have to insert your content. You see what I mean? Is a good way to do it? Not really. But you have to do it. Why? Because you're going to take a test. Okay? And they're going to write exactly, okay? Like what these are. So you've got to know how to answer, how to expound on it. Yes?
I guess then probably the most important point with relation to the test that I'd like to say in regards to the homework is that because the structure, as I pointed out, is very similar in some cases where it would take up a lot more time to rewrite for some of the smaller branches, it might be better for our time if we spend it doing SQ3R simply based on the textbook, because everybody goes at a different pace, so we would be able to focus on things that were more problematic areas, rather than writing 10,000 words for that, which is actually 25 pages. And assuming you have 60 students for us in period 2, that's a stack of paper 4.875 feet high. It's ridiculously high.
4.875.
You can check the calculations.
It's a small child.
That's not a very small child.
So I think ultimately this is a lose-lose situation for you, Mr. Chan. What happens is we're probably going to go online to some random resource, copy and paste the answers, because we don't want to spend time doing this. We want to spend time doing the textbook, doing actual work that allows us to prepare us for the
Now,
test.
where do you get those information?
For the calculations, I have sources. I can send them to you.
Oh.
But, Mr. Chen, that would require you to go through a stack of paper 5 feet high. It would be a lot of work on your part, and I don't think we'd be able to gain as much rather than if we took our time and devoted it to more concrete methods of study like SQ3R that you've given us before. Would that
So
make
what do you want to do?
allow us to turn in our notes that we get in from our
Notes?
study?
What do you mean notes?
Notes that we take from individual studies. So instead of assigning learning objectives, you allow us to do individual studying and turn in notes, and you could perhaps give more frequent tests to make sure that we're actually understanding the material.
Did you just say more tests?
Anushka, no, wait, no, not Anushka. What's your name? Ananya. I'm really bad with names, okay?
Okay, listen up. I don't worry about you guys understand the content. I do worry about how you express and also grab how you interpret what an answer is. Particularly the free response, they are very weird. Okay, what they do is they give you a raw data, and you got to base on what you know anything about anything to interpret them and answer them. Okay, now in terms of the key, they gave us the teacher. The key is wide open. I said, you must be kidding. You've got to really have an open mind. Okay, so what they are pushing is have you guys to think whatever way you can based on your perspective. Okay, so is there any right or wrong? In a way, yes. In a way, no, because those questions are vague, very vague. Okay, so hopefully they want you to tell them a lot of things. Hopefully one of them is answering. It's not a good way to get specific understanding. Okay, not good straight, but it's good exercise for you to write and how to deal with those fuzzy questions. Okay, yes?
Then if you actually want our interpretation and our understanding, why not just write like 250 words on that? Why do we have to give all these specific examples, specific things in the basic concept, as you said, since they're included? Why do we have to write so much? And
you don't have to write so much.
Even if you're writing 250 words, how much of that do you understand? What's the guarantee that we won't just be a
There's two
all
things.
of them at almost like two or three objectives, if you count them, are the same thing. Approximately.
They are not the same thing though.
Approximately the same thing. They're asking the same thing. So you can just combine them and make one response. Maybe it's like 500 words, but at least you'll get the full understanding instead of doing like.
Mr. Chen, could I ask a quick question?
Four of the tiny words.
Could I ask a quick question?
This. I'm not defending this kind of learning objective, but I want to expose it out.
Could I?
Because last year they did the same thing too. Okay, actually 2 years ago they did the same thing. We changed this this is the third year they changed already. What happened is the learning objective helps some people to actually find out. Actually, I didn't ask them to write too much, but then some people, you know what? They write one word. Yes, no. Okay, so that's why I really force you guys to write something. Okay, but the key thing is, what do you express with the kind of content that you have in order to tell what kind of objective you can have. See the objective going vague, so for you to focus on. Okay, so you look at that. This is what I'm going to focus on it. This is what to the right. All right. So in terms of the volume, I'm very flexible on the volume. Volume means number of words. Okay. But the key thing is, I need to see on the perspective. Now, people do two things on this learning objective. Number one, they do yes or no answer. Okay. Number two, they copy and paste. Okay, from Google. They take the keyword, copy and paste on it. There's no connections. Okay, completely try to break off. You write something and some break off another thing. Okay, then I know it's copy and paste. All right, so it won't help those people, but help those people actually think about it and write. If you write on your own word, okay, not 250, like about 20 or 30 words, and you can explain in details already. You get the idea already. You got a perspective, all right?
So you want us to write as much as needed to explain the concept.
Right, exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
No more than that. Not
no,
your
it's not the
5,
volume.
6.
I don't want the volume because the volume is for those people who are lazy. You cut and paste. All right. Yes.
So, Mr. Chair, first of all, for the different learning objectives, do you know what chapter they're in? Like 6. Like they're all in Unit 3, I know. But like, is there like a list of like which
If you look at the
chapter
curriculum
covers it?
summary at the beginning, those chapters are all scattering the whole book. It's crazy. Okay? I object to that is a textbook is not appropriate for this kind of study. Number one, they don't organize it in sections. But the sections we used to have before the curriculum, those are right. And now they require you to connect outside of different units to be part of a unit. Then you see that a lot of reference on the chapter numbers, they're all scattered through the whole book. It's not, and then actually there are certain focus ones. So I ask you, when I test you, only test you on the focus one. Okay? Sometimes they will refer back to chapter 5, they refer to chapter 43. So I say, wow, how can we teach them? How can we study them? So I only verbally mention all those to bring in, so you can think about it. So particularly different scope and scale. Okay? When you talk about interaction right now, you talk about molecular, you talk about cellular, you talk about organismal, you talk about population, community. Those are interactive. They're huge when you compare to them. And they do ask for it. I say, wow. Okay? So you have to understand me that I'm trying to follow the College Board requirement to force you guys to bring up to that point. But it's a lot of work. It's not practical. Yes?
Oh, also, Mr. Chen, I'm kind of confused now because you know how it says like there's different letters we have to write about? I thought that we just wrote like 2 or 3 sentences for each letter. But now I'm confused. Do we have to write like paragraphs containing all those?
No.
Or am I doing it correctly?
No. You need to write enough to explain the particular basic idea.
Wait,
So,
that's for,
I'm really lenient on the amount of words. But then some of them you really have to write a lot in order to explain.
but the amount of words is not what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about how we're writing it. Are we writing like, because I wrote like a tiny paragraph for number 1, and then for part 2 of each learning objective, I wrote the letter, and then I wrote a sentence or 2 about whatever it was, the idea.
This is, you need to discern that if the objective, they have sequentials, okay? They usually bring general to specific all the way to the end, okay? So what you, if you smart enough is actually write very general at the beginning, okay? Give 1 or 2 examples at the end. And if they repeat the same pattern, okay, you will just take the specific one, expound on it. Okay? You understand? It's not repeating. It's not repeating.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like, for the instructions, it says like 1, explain this, and 2, explain this, right? So, from what I understood, what you're telling now is that we need to write 1 like paragraph, or it doesn't matter how long, so we have to write like 1 body of text containing all those different things. But what my understanding was that we did, like we numbered it, and we wrote 1,
Yeah,
and
you have to
then we wrote
number
the
it.
answer,
Yeah,
and
you
then we
do.
wrote 2A,
Yeah.
and we wrote the answer,
Right,
and
right.
2B.
Right.
And that's
You do
how I
number.
did it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. Okay? You number it, that's fine. Don't merge them into the big paragraph.
Okay.
Okay? Because I have to sort it out for you, and I can't. There's way too many to read. Okay? Alright. Yes.
So, with regards to the learning objectives, for the reasons that we've discussed prior, because, can I just say some things that I think are facts that we can agree on? Or one of them is that the differences between most of the learning objectives, say the ones about free energy, differ in, as you mentioned, their scope. However, their concepts are often very similar. They involve analyzing them, whether it be in cells or graphs, to understand how free energy works. So, I'd like to ask if it's possible, can we forego the A through E's and 1s and 2s and simply write our understanding of the concept with help from the textbook if necessary for each
No,
learning
I'd
objective?
rather have you to follow the numbering system, but you don't have to write as much. You see what I mean? Because it's hard for me to read.
The
Okay?
numbering system alone, though, is going to be asking for at least a paragraph and a half.
But you can shorten it.
How much can you shorten
It
it?
takes it 2 to 3 sentences for each response, which is
Yeah,
about
you need-
40 words, which is
yeah.
about 250 for the whole thing.
And
So
then
it ends
also,
up taking at
Mr.
least
Chan,
250 words per learning objective.
so
You need that.
one of the
You
things,
can't get away.
one of the things you're asking in our understanding is the future use of whatever we're talking about. And then since many of their main subject is the same, you want us to repeat the future usefulness for every single one of them? Or can't we just like, since there are like, it depends on scope, we can have one broad topic and we can discuss there how it's useful in the future, not do it with others.
Okay. Finish whatever you have now, okay, and try to simplify it, and make it based on the numbers, okay, so I can read easily. Okay, I'm not objective not to use this because all these learning objectives are in a way repetitively emphasizing certain things, okay, and those repetitions sometimes it's very hard to tell they are different. Okay, so what I would like you guys to do right now is finish what you have for now. For the 5 and 6, I will look through that because what I want you to do is you're going to expose to this kind of verbal verbiage. Okay, because when they ask you the question, they're going to ask the same thing. They're going to ask exactly the same thing. Okay, so that when you do that, you need to understand what they're asking, because sometimes it's very hard for people to understand what they're asking. So the learning objective essentially is geared toward those language. Okay, yes?
Okay. So, two facts. One of them is the learning objectives have language in them that differs slightly when we talk about the same concept. So because of this, it's a small difference, but it's one that we can definitely know and see nonetheless and answer. The second is the reason for us doing these learning objectives is to acquaint us with language that will later be used on the AP tests, so we have a better understanding of what they're asking. In that case, wouldn't it be better if we were to just find some practice AP tests and then photocopy them for the class?
We did already, but you're not ready yet. We call it mock test.
Yeah.
There will be 5 mock tests coming up in April.
In that case, if we had more than 5, we could assign those for homework too. And
No, I don't have more than 5. Yes.
Also, like,
No, I don't assign the homework because it's very different. Homework you can relax and then figure out how to answer right. No, you have to prepare like you're taking a test. Otherwise, you defeat the whole purpose. Yes.
alright, so you were talking about how they're practice and how you were going to make us do 3 and 4 together, unit 3 and 4.
Yeah.
And then you're going to check and see how we did, and then tell us
Yeah.
how to do it right. Wouldn't it be more beneficial if we did 3 first, so you can
No, 3 and 4 you have passed the unit already. We got it done.
right, but
So I need both of them.
yeah, but what you said, according to my understanding of what you said, was that after we're done with unit 3 and 4, the learning objectives, you're going to look at them and tell us what we did wrong. That would be easier if you could just look at 3, since if we can't do it right, we would do it wrong for both of them.
No,
This way
it's
we
not a
can
matter
do
of
it wrong.
right or wrong.
I mean-
Okay, that's important to understand this. It's a style that the things they require you guys to answer. Okay, based on the language. Okay, I really oppose to all these objectives in the way they say things. Okay, when you read carefully, sometimes you can differentiate one from another.
Oh no, that's totally doable.
Okay, yeah. Well, hang on a second. But when you read carefully, they are different.
Yeah, we're agreeing on that. We're in
Okay,
agreement.
so how much you want to differentiate that, you have to describe what they're asking for. So this is kind of like exercise, you have to describe what they're asking for. So in other words,